Hey there YouTube, welcome back to another Black Powder update. As I said, I took a little bit of a rest in between finishing the second and starting the third. After about 3 or 4 days, I couldn't fight the urge. Originally I was going to sort of take a couple of weeks rest, but like I say, the urge to paint gripped my veins, and I decided to start. And even though there was a little bit of mind resistance when I started, sticking them to their painting bases and priming them, I soon got into the groove again. And these guys, even though I was a little slow on the flankers again, I don't really know why, I did actually manage to catch up, and these guys ended up taking me about the same sort of time that a normal battalion would take. I actually finished them off this morning with the classic, priming their bases with the coat of cheapy brown, and then flocking them, just simply because the Daz clay took. I always leave it. I try and leave it overnight if I can, before leaving it to dry well before I start putting stuff on top of it. Now, obviously this is a really thin layer of Daz clay, so it doesn't take particularly long, and to tell the truth, if I decided to perhaps flock them at perhaps sort of 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night yesterday, the chances are they probably would have been dry, but I decided to leave them to this morning, and sort of half an hour's work and they were finished basically. So what have we got here now? This time round I decided to start the 3rd Netherlands backwards, so we're starting off with the 2nd Brigade. Now the main reason for that, there's actually 2 reasons. The first is that the troops I've actually got already in are more suitable for the 2nd Brigade than they are for the 1st. The main reason being that the 1st's actually got 4 battalions of militia, where this particular brigade, the 2nd Brigade, only has 2. Now obviously the militia are going to cause me a few problems, because as you all know, I'm not a great fan of having repeat units, and I think I've just about exhausted all of the militia options that are available, including even getting some elite miniatures, not elite miniatures, eagle miniatures in. Now I've never brought these guys before. I've always been under the guise that these guys are really titchy, and surprise surprise, when they came, they really are. Now I'm going to do a little video on these guys on their own after this, so I'll put these guys to the side for now, so look out for that little video if you're interested in knowing what I'm going to do with them, because like I say, they're really quite small in comparison to even Perry's. So let's get on with these boys. Now these guys are the 36th Belgian Jaeger. They were commanded by a Colonel C. Goethals, and they numbered 633 men. Let's do a little bit of a zoom in. There we go. Figures wise, these guys are mostly Perry's, but I did manage to use up some of my spare elite guys in here too. Now obviously the elite guys are in a marching attack, where the Perry's guys are kind of more in an advancing, but I kind of solved that problem by using them as sort of NCOs, and I've actually got the 4th company here, actually 4 guys on their own stand, so they actually don't really mess up the dynamic of the unit. The other slight difference is that I actually put 2 Hornets in to this company. Now really, if I had my ideal world, I would have converted a drummer to make him into a Jaeger drummer, but this time for some reason I wasn't on the ball, so I've actually got a buglist in this particular drummer's spot. Now these guys did have drummers and buglers. Now obviously the buglers would be more in the flankers, but in this one I've obviously just put in the extra Hornist. Now whether I repeat the Hornist again in my next when I get to the first brigade, because they also have a unit of Jaeger, I think I'll probably convert the drummer and just leave this one as it is. So without further ado, let's get on and give you a closer look at them. So let's start off with the flankers as usual. So the first company of flankers. Now, the other thing that I sort of came across when I was starting to paint these guys is that you notice on a lot of sites when you go to sort of their Belgian line, they go Belgian line stroke Jaeger. Now, even on the St Jerome site, these guys have the Belgian style Shako with the plume at the side. However, in this case, I decided to go with the Osprey version of these chaps, which is actually, if I just sort of move the camera back a little bit, you can see that actually on the front here is actually the plate that I was talking about. And now these guys are, obviously this is the Belgian book, and these guys are the Belgian Jaegers, and you can see that these guys have got the same Shakos as the Dutch, and the only sort of difference I can see between the two is that their flankers have these stripes on their puffs, which are horizontal rather than vertical. Other than that, these guys are exactly the same. So I decided to go for that because I thought, well, you know, if you were to buy just like, you know, like front rank, for instance, if you were to buy a unit of front rank Belgian line, they will come with the blank Shako as Belgian line troops do, but they're also marked up as Belgian line stroke Jaeger. So you know, you're going to be stuck with Jaeger troops without the horn on their Shakos. So I thought, well, no, I'm going to keep it, you know, as the Osprey book, and keep them as the guys with the middle position pom pom, and I think it looks pretty cool. So that's what I've decided to do. Now these guys do have another slight difference between the Dutch, and that is that they have black water bottles, which I thought was really quite unique, and obviously all the rest of their strapping's black too, much like the Dutch Jaegers actually. But these guys do have the black water bottles, which I thought was quite cool. So that is the first unit of flankers, and these guys are all Perrys. So that is the flanker company. Then we have the fourth company. These guys are made up of 4 elite troops, and you can see that they're in the sort of the march attack positions. I decided to sort of keep them all together on one base because they kind of fit in with the sort of the rear of the formation. They're still sort of moving forward, so it's not the end of the world that they're not quite running forward quite as fast as the others, but I think they fit in well. They certainly look good. But yeah, just 4 regular elite miniatures Jaeger. Again, obviously these are Dutch Jaeger, and again, I think Elite Miniatures offer their Dutch version Shakoed Jaeger too. Although I'm not sure if they'll have the horns. So here we have the final company of flankers, and these guys have got the Hornist and Bugler. And again, we have all Perry's guys on here. Obviously, more or less in the same positions because they're all from the same sort of packs. So that is the final company of flankers. Next up, we'll go for the which is normally the NCO base. Now again, on this one, I decided to use an extra officer. And I chose this particular officer to go here because he's kind of using his sword to sort of steady the line up. You know, perhaps getting the guy to sort of slow down a little bit to not to rush off ahead. And here we have again 3 Perry's troops with a Perry's officer making up, which is normally the NCO stand. But I thought that went well. I have actually got a sergeant, but I decided not to put him into the stand because I thought it would be a bit odd, the officer holding back a sergeant. So I decided to put him on the musician's base instead, which we'll come across in a second. So that is the normally the NCO base, but marked up with an officer this time instead of a sergeant. Okay, on to the musician's base then. So here we have, now like I say, I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but these guys are supposed to have a drummer, and for some reason the conversion spark didn't click in my head, so I decided to just use another bugler. Now obviously if I were to swap him out, I would just get a spare drummer, lop his head off and steal a head from another infantryman Jaeger, and stick his head on top of this body, or the drummer's body, which is easy enough to do. But like I say, obviously the conversion switch didn't click, and I missed the opportunity. But it's not the end of the world, and I'm quite happy having a bugler there instead. So obviously on the stand we've got the 3 Perrys and the Elite NCO there. Obviously you can tell by the white gloves and the stripes on his arm. So that is the musician's base. Now finally we have the command base. Now again I decided to go for a mounted officer in this particular unit. I did actually, this guy started off life as a Belgian line officer actually, a spare Belgian line officer, or colonel rather, and I decided to use him. I basically swapped his head. I chopped another elite guy's head off and stuck it on top, so you get the Jaeger horn on his shako, and then we have the 2 Perry's officers, or well, Perry's ensign there, and the Perry's lieutenant there, second lieutenant. Now you can tell this guy's a second lieutenant and not a first lieutenant or a captain, because they don't have the secondary pauldron, the pauldron topper on top of his shoulder, and it's the same for this guy here. And of course the colonel has got his two pauldrons to denote his rank. So that is the command base. Now flag wise, we have the Jaeger alternate flag. Now if you were to grab my Dutch Jaeger that I did in the second Netherlands, there would basically be a wreath around the outside of the flag. This is the alternate version, which I thought would be good to mark out the difference between Belgian and Dutch, which I have done actually for the line infantry too. Although actually the line it is actually the same. Yeah, the line infantry flag is white, but I've done a similar sort of thing. So the Dutch line would have a wreath. I haven't actually done a Dutch line unit yet, and the Belgian have the blank outside. So they have a white flag, very similar to this in fact. So yeah, that's the command. Very happy with it. I think overall this battalion came out pretty cool. I used the same colour as I did before. Now I almost sort of think that perhaps the Dutch Jaeger uniform is actually a little bit of a darker green, because obviously if you look at this, that is actually quite a dark green. It's almost just sort of a Nassau black green, but I'm happy using the same colours as I used on my Dutch Jaeger. I think it's a nice green, and I'll probably stick with that. So that is the 36th Belgian Jaeger, and yeah, so just to finish up the video then, big thank you again to some more subscribers. These ones are the ones that you're not notified about, so I had a little bit of a surprise when I was at sort of 444, and then suddenly I jumped up to 449, and there's obviously no notifications of new subscribers. So thank you to all you chaps that have subscribed. Hopefully you'll enjoy the content. I've also obviously got quite a big back catalogue of videos too, which aren't necessarily all about Napoleonics, so I have actually done some other stuff too, would you believe. Now, big picture wise, I've actually, when I finished this particular division, I've actually, apart from replacing the flags on some of my Hanoverian units, repainting up 4 or 5 new command figures for my 3rd British Infantry, and doing the Prince of Orange himself, I've actually finished the corps, which will make will mark a quite a big occasion, because it'll actually mark my 2nd corps of Napoleonics that I've done, because obviously I've done 3rd corps for the French, and that was matched up by doing the 1st corps for the Allies, and that will practically mark the end of my major Napoleonic projects. I'm not stopping by any chance. Obviously I have plans to do the Dutch cavalry division, and also I have my sort of long-term side projects of doing the Hanoverian cavalry brigade and the 1st French cavalry division. I actually already got all the troops in for those, and I think I just need 2 boxes of British Hussars to finish the Hanoverian brigade. So those are 2 projects for the future too. But as far as sort of like corps go, I think that's going to be the end. I'm probably going to give it a rest, and perhaps try and motivate myself to start a new project, which obviously when I've thought about exactly what I want to do, I'll let you all know. So that is the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, all the usual YouTube stuff, like, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Please feel free to comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.